Hi, this is going to be a short video about how to do HL7 Schema Database training, which is a fairly new feature. I think it came about after version 6.6 or so of the UltraPort SQL schema engine. We're not going to be going over how to use the schema engine to create tables or anything like that. You can refer to our prior video creating a HL7 database in less than 15 minutes. What schema training is as your HL7 messages are imported into your database, it will dynamically alter your schema tables to make sure that the data fits. What this means is we want to try to ensure that just every possible piece of the HL7 message is directly addressable by you in Microsoft SQL Server. That means if you receive an HL7 message and it contains a Z segment, a custom segment, it will stop. It will actually create the new table for that data to reside in, and then it will import the data. If there's a missing field, if you receive an HL7 message with a field that we've never seen before, like the PID segment, say that there was 41 fields in it where normally there's 28, it will stop. It will dynamically create the field, and then it will import the message and put the data into it. The next one is truncation. If you receive an HL7 message and you have a piece of data that is 40 characters long, but we have in the database created the field to receive it as a varchar 30. It will stop. It will dynamically alter the table and increase it from a varchar 30 to a varchar 45. It'll actually add 5 extra characters. And this all happens automatically if you just configure the schema engine to do so. To configure database training in the schema engine, it's really very simple. If you've got your schema created, in this case I have already created one, but you can do it when you're creating a new one as well. There's this checkbox, automatically train my schema tables. Just check that, okay, and that enables it, but there's an extra step. Since you're telling the schema engine to dynamically make changes to your tables, we added a two-pronged system. You next have to go to DB maintenance. We always recommend that you set up a database maintenance plan of some kind, but in this section for error handling and logging, you have to make sure that all of these are set to treat as fatal. And this is because the way training was designed is it's designed to prevent fatal errors. So if there's a missing column and it's detected, the system stops and says, wait, that's a fatal error, let me fix it. I'm going to create the column. Unknown field, unknown segment, data truncation, all the same. Set them all to treat as fatal. Now, a very important thing, since you're telling it to do this, you have to make sure that whatever SQL credentials you're using to connect to the database, that they have the appropriate rights to create tables, alter tables, etc. in this server, in this database. Even if you're using just the trusted connection, that's fine, as long as you or whoever's logged into Windows has the appropriate rights. And you save your changes, and we're now configured. Let's test it. Now to prepare for this video, we created a special HL7 definition that's truncated, and we used that to create this database schema. If we take a look at it, it only has 5 segments in it. And if I go over to Microsoft SQL Server and I just refresh my database, we can see that there's only the 5 segment data tables. We also did something a little bit special, is we played with the database creation and had it set all of the segment data fields to be varchar 10s. Okay, so it's that way in all of the segment data tables. This way, when we run an HL7 message in, we should be able to see the effects that training has on the database in real time. And now that we have everything ready, let's actually run some messages into the database. To do that, we're going to come here. The services are installed but not running. We're going to run locally so we can actually watch. And we're going to start. And there's nothing in there right now. I've got an HL7 data file up here with 1,500 messages in it. I'm going to export, just say 500 of them to a folder, and it's set to that folder where the that thing is looking, and we'll just go and open that up. We should be able to see this running, and it is actually importing the messages right now. And it's done. I'm going to stop this, and we'll look at the results. If we want to now look and see what happened when we imported our 500 messages, we can just go look at SQL Server. Refresh my database. And we go look at the tables. We see now there are more tables than there were before. We started out with 5. Now there are several more. These are tables that were created dynamically as the messages were coming in. It detected a PD1 segment, it added PD1 tables. Detected a PV1 segment, and it added PV1 tables. If we look at a segment that we know has data in it, let's say the PID segment, look at the columns. See, they're still set to varchar 10s, but when we come across a field that had data in it, this one was actually trained up to a varchar 25. The last name is now a varchar 16. And if we get another record in where the patient's last name is 20 characters long or 22 characters long, that would be increased to a varchar 27. And if you ever want to know what exactly happened in your training, you can always come to the message errors table. Just do the select from here. Let's execute this. And this will show you everything where the message ID is Schema Training. The error message will be the actual SQL statement that was executed by training. You can just copy it, and it's fully formed. You can paste it right into a SQL editor window. In this case, we altered the PID F11 Component 1, Field 11 Component 1 field up to a varchar 47. It will always only increase the sizes. It will never alter smaller. Now there's one last scenario we want to look at here, which will be to look at the PID segment as an example. Here in SQL Server, we can see our PID segment table. You've got some records in here now. The columns have been trained, etc. Now, if we take a look at our messages, we've got this test bed of messages. It's got 144 messages in there, but what I really care about is this PID segment on the first message. What I've done is I've gone all the way out and added a bunch of empty fields to it, and added a 41st field with some data pieces. Now what I'm going to do is export these messages out to a folder. It's done. I'm going to come back to my schema engine and start that up. And so you saw some training operations going, and it's done importing the messages. Let's come back to SQL Server and see what it looks like. I'm going to refresh my database, and let's go look at the PID table. And there it is. We actually created the B table. If you've used the schema engine for a while, you know that if there's more than 40 HL7 fields in a segment, we create an A table and a B table. Well, this was a PID segment. It had 41 columns in it, so it left that, and it went and created the B table. And there it is. And there's our 41st field. And that is the example of database training. Be sure to watch our other videos on HL7 and HL7 messages, and like and subscribe.